must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Mugutu, and as usual, we're coming to you from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. I trust that your day has started off well. And we do have so much to look at this morning. Before we get into our other topics of the day, I'd like to bring us up to date with the latest in terms of the COVID statistics. And in the country right now, Kenya, the number of confirmed cases standing at 157,492 cases, and the death toll is 2,665 people have since reported dead, and recovery so far is 106,836 cases. Uganda, 41,737 cases, and the death toll is 341. The recovery so far is 40,898 cases. South Africa, the leading country in the continent right now, having reported a total of 1,577,200 cases. The death toll in South Africa is 54,237 cases. Recovery is 1,502,986 cases. And just leave the rest and go to the total cases in Africa this morning: 4,523,057 cases. And the death toll, the whole of Africa, is 120,793 cases, and recovery so far is 4,041,501 cases. And of course, the global statistics right now standing at 141,359,111, and the global deaths right now have topped 3,141,381, and the global recoveries is 127,528,497, and that is where we are. And of course, these figures are subject to changes as different countries keep updating their latest figures as they receive them. And you know, a place like India right now, it has been hard hit, and so let's see how that is working for them. And for the rest of us, yes, we still have COVID here with us, as much as we're reporting a bit of a few cases, especially in Kenya. We've seen the rate has gone a bit low, but that doesn't mean that we loosen up on these measures. We still have to social distance, we still have to wash our hands, and we still are not encouraged to go to any house parties whatsoever. And you're out there in public, if you can just have your mask all the time, it will go a long way in keeping you safe and your loved ones. All right, thank you so much. So joining me this morning, I think, before I bring in my panelists, I'd like us to go quickly the main headlines this morning. On the Standard newspaper, Madam CJ, how she beat the odds. Justice Kome's fit. Many did not consider her the obvious choice for the top judiciary post. What with a formidable competition, a sitting woman DCJ, and Mount Kenya political undercurrents at play, but the appellate court judge got JSC's ringing endorsement to become 15th Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. So what we are saying, I'm reading for you here in a nutshell, in case you're outside of the country and you don't know what's happening here. Kenya is set to have its first woman Chief Justice, and so that is something that I've seen a lot of people celebrate, especially the women folk in this country. Then it just up there, big showdown as BBI goes to the House. As we speak right now, Parliament, it is a joint sitting between the National Assembly and the Senate. In the National Parliament there, and they're discussing the BBI bill. So perhaps by the end of today, they have today and tomorrow, and so we shall let you know how that will go. And exam evaluation headache for cheating teachers, that is also there on the front pages of the Standard newspaper. And on the Daily Nation, woman of a fast, Madam CJ, despite coming from a humble polygamous family, Court of Appeal Judge Martha Koome, who has been nominated for the position of Chief Justice, has a history of excellence and has beaten many odds to become one of the most courageous and brilliant legal minds in the country. And here is apparent to the top judiciary job, the same story there. And I think we shall be looking at that. It is one of our topics in the Kenyan stories this morning. And we go to also on the side there, where politics, Wajir County boss impeached in a day of high drama. Governor Mohamed Abdi, accused of delegating power to his wife, shone the door despite attempts to stop the vote through a court order. The story is on page 21 of the Daily Nation, and just up there, showdown looms in-house over divisive BBI report. So we're going to see that. And just beside that, I think something important, a new down as land register goes digital. President Kenyatta launches system that will ease transfers while marking the end of the road for cartels. I don't know if they'll be able to beat that system out. This Kenya, you know, we have very clever people. And when I say clever, not in a very good way, but hey, land registration and all that has gone digital. So will that help to curb the cartels that we see in the Ministry of Lands? And then we turn our attention to the Star newspaper, how the new land system will affect you. Kenyans can now conduct land transactions like searches, transfers and registration at the click of a button. I've read there also on the Daily Nation. And also Koome, it is the hand of the Lord. That is what she said. Then up there, is it a fight between Orengo and Raila, why ODM is in turmoil? Very good question, and I think we've been having a bit of this conversation here on the show, so I'm interested to know what my panelists will be saying this morning. And then Kenya joins largest search in Africa for COVID-19 treatment. All right, very well. So that is what we have on our headlines this morning. Thank you so much for joining. I see a lot of our viewers there watching. So I want to introduce our panelists this morning, and we do have Douglas Kirimi from Meru County. Douglas, a very good morning to you. All right, we do have Samuel Tawish. Samuel, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam and the panelists and all our viewers who are watching us this morning. It is a bright morning right here at Kenya's capital in Nairobi.
Okay, very well, Samuel. Nice to have you on the show this morning. And we are also joined by Jeevan Karanja from Nanyuki. Jeevan, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam. Good morning to our viewers wherever they are watching this broadcast from. And good morning to my fellow panelists. Thanks for having me on the show once again.
Okay, karibu sana. And we are also joined by Daniel Wesonga, also from Nairobi. Daniel, a very good morning to you.
Yes, very good morning, Miriam Ogutu at our headquarters in Nairobi. A very good morning to my fellow panelists, my brother Tarwish, my brother Jaban Karanja, and our viewers here in Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the world.
Okay. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So, of course, we are going to start with the obvious story that is in all the leading newspapers this morning in the country. And I'll just take on the version by the Daily Nation, woman of fast, Madam CJ, despite coming from a humble polygamous family, Court of Appeal Judge Martha Koome, who has been nominated for the position of Chief Justice, has a history of excellence and has beaten many odds to become one of the most courageous and brilliant legal minds in the country. And here is apparent to the top judiciary job. Samuel Tawish, is this what you were expecting?
Thank you so much once more, Miriam, and our viewers, and of course the panelists who are with us today in this program. Indeed, Miriam, it didn't quite come as a surprise to me that Justice Martha Koome has been selected to become our next Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, ostensibly becoming the third Chief Justice after the promulgation of the new constitution in the year 2010. Justice Martha Koome has come out as a distinguished a career civil servant, a person who has demonstrated ability to actually steer forward the judiciary, especially during her tenure in the previous capacities rather she has held, and also serving in the appellate court. You remember she's actually worked quite very well. She's a person who is of unquestionable rather integrity, a person of competence, a person who can be relied upon in terms of what she has all along been doing. And when you look at how she was presenting herself, even before the Judicial Service Commission during that vetting exercise, she did come out to confidently and courageously answer to the questions that were brought forth by the JSC, and also exuding confidence that she's going, if given the opportunity, she's going to bring a new dawn and a new hope in the judiciary, and more so to the Kenyan people who have over time really lost confidence and trust in this judiciary because of a lack of competence in the people who are in the judiciary, especially leading the judiciary, and in this case, of course, the Supreme Court. And so we have we have Martha Koome, who is coming out as a person who really promises a new judiciary, a new Supreme Court, that we are going to see a lot of tremendous changes. And moving forward, maybe finally Kenyans will say we are going to have a new judiciary after all, Miriam. So that is what I have to say this morning, Miriam. I submit.
Okay. Thank you so much, Samuel Tawish. Javan Karanja, going to see the first Chief Justice should President Uhuru Kenyatta accept this, nomination by the Judiciary Service Commission. They picked her of the 10 that went there to be interviewed to replace former Chief Justice David Maraga. They all settled unanimously for Martha Koome. We will have a first Chief Justice, a female first Chief Justice. I mean, this is a milestone. I don't know, what do you make of this and all for all the candidates that were presented? Is this what you're expecting?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Miriam. I really expected a surprise from my side because nobody was pointing out clearly who would succeed the former Chief Justice David Maraga. But what we have come to see is that the recent surprise from the Judicial Service Commission has also surprised people across the political divide. Because Miriam, the kind of congratulatory message that I'm seeing leaders across the political divide sending to Justice Martha Koome shows clearly that Kenyans are proud and they see that this is a neutral person when you look at in a political perspective. Because if it was David, if it was Ngatia, senior counsel, Friend Ngatia, who was appointed CJ, you could have seen a lot of outcry from some political divides. The same case would have happened if it was William Ouko. Therefore, this candidate is a good candidate, and it has also cooled the political temperatures as we head to 2022. Therefore, what I expect from her, as I congratulate her for being appointed CJ, is I expect a lot of her as a Kenyan. I'm so optimistic because this is a person, when you look at her history, you'll see that he has been advocating for the rights of women, children, the less privileged in the society, and he was in frontline when this country was going the traumas of a one-party state, and she came out and fought to join hands with other Kenyans of goodwill, journalists, politicians, and other Kenyans to force the government of the day, led by then President Moi, to see the sense of having a multi-party kind of a democracy. Therefore, this is a person who have stood with the less privilege in the society, who has stood with Kenyans across all walks of life. And you could see, even when he was being interviewed, she is a person who his legal prowess came out very clearly that he will take judiciary to the next level, or maybe he will make it better than what his predecessors, the two Chief Justice, have done. Therefore, I'm quite optimistic that as we head to 2022, because these are where everything comes to Supreme Court, especially when we have a presidential petition, I expect her, and from what I saw, this is a person who I can bet with to give a very good decision, especially on such issue of contentious presidential ballot. Therefore, as Kenyans and as a win for women, and this shows Miriam in future, women are aiming and they are positioning themselves for a higher position, and they are capable. And as the government of the day has been pushing for gender equality, then this is coming out to play. Therefore, as we go to 2022 politics and elective position, I expect more women to come on board so that we can at least get the two-third gender balance without so much strain. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Martha. Justice Martha Koome is 61 years old, a mother of 3, and has been a legal practitioner right now. Practitioner, right? Okay. For 33 years. Daniel Wasonga, are you surprised that they picked her of the 10 candidates who showed up for this interview?
Miriam, it was much anticipated that Martha Koome will beat the odds and become the next Chief Justice, and essentially the first female Chief Justice. When you look across the world, Miriam, the wheel of history is turning. In the US, we have the first female vice president, and in other European countries, we've been having female presidents actually taking the mantle of leadership. And Kenya seems not to have been left behind by these changes that are occurring across the globe. So it's a very, very good thing for Kenya that we are going to be at least the first African country to have a female Chief Justice in the name of Lady Justice Martha Koome, and I wish her well in whatever she's doing. Now back to her competence and ability. When you look, this is a woman who has been in the legal practice for over 30 years, and she has the temperament, she has the experience, and she has the demeanor of a Chief Justice, and that could be expressed in the interviews that were conducted by JSC, and Tarwish has quite put it clearly. The way she was talking, the way she was responding to the questions, it showed a demeanor, a character of someone who has a deep understanding on how the judicial system works, and she also portrayed an ambition or a goodwill to improve on whatever her to-be predecessor Maraga and Mutunga had done in the judiciary, just turning around things and bringing a better and corruption-free judiciary. And really, we do have a lot of expectations on her. And being the first female Chief Justice, we believe that she's going perhaps to set a new bar for the judiciary. We are going to maybe see very rapid changes in the way the judiciary has been operating in terms of backlogging cases, corruption, and all the other issues. Remember when she talked about addressing the stalemate between the executive and the judiciary, she answered the question quite satisfactorily, and she had a very conciliatory tone when it came to that. And that is what we need for a Chief Justice. We do not need a Chief Justice who will go there to create some kind of upheaval between the judiciary and the other arms of government. So to me, Miriam, if you ask me for my honest opinion, I think Martha Koome is very equal to the task. She has all it needs to become the next Chief Justice, and I believe she's going to take the position with a very equal courage and a very equal wisdom to be able to get it to another level from where Maraga left it. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. Professor Jared Munyari, a very good morning to you, and what is your opinion on our incoming Chief Justice, Justice Martha Koome?
Miriam, let me take this opportunity, Miriam. You know I'm the Secretary General for Kenya Union of Judicial Workers, to congratulate her for having been nominated by the Judicial Service Commission for that office. The process, you saw how it was. There was no doubt that Miriam, she would be among the top 5. But just happens is the one who has now become number 1. The only thing I did not like with the process is that you don't just have one name to the president. Then why do you take the name to the president if you have finished your work? And you have agreed, and it has been very. So that's where we have got a problem. There are 3 names that needs to be taken to the president for him to choose 3 names out of there. That's when, Miriam, when it works, that also your office is not a conduit. Be it as it may, Miriam, it is not a big deal. I don't know why you are finding a big deal that This is the first time we are having a woman as the Chief Justice.
It is a big deal, Professor, no?
No, it's not. And if you enter that way, you enter that office because of competence. Are you understand? She has not entered that office because it's a woman.
She is competent, Dr. but Professor.
Listen, let me just make my argument.
Yes.
This is what I want to demystify, that when women
History,
get a big...
but history has been made. History has been made,
when she gets a big position, then you think it is a favor. It is not. She merits. We are all equal. Here, this Miriam. The nominee for the Chief Justice Kome. The Deputy Chief Justice is Mwiru. The Vice Chair of Judicial Service Commission is Mugenda, Professor Mugenda. The Acting President of the Court of Appeal is Wanchiru Karanja. The High Court, the Principal Judge High Court is Lydia Jordan. And the list goes on and on. What I'm trying to say is that women are competent. They can get equal opportunity they are giving. And what women are requesting in this country, and this is what the Constitution has given, equal opportunity, Miriam. They were being asked the same questions, and she came excellent. I have no doubt that the training and the background of Justice Kome is solid. Miriam, remember, this is the person who has worked in the civil society. So she understands how the vulnerable people in this society suffer, Miriam. This is the person, Miriam, who found there was a Rakuna, Miriam, and came up with FIDA. And you see what FIDA has done for the women of this country, Miriam. This is the woman, this is the lady who identified during the one single party regime, Miriam, Section 2A. She was there. She has worked this side, and she has worked inside for the almost 18 years. Miriam, this is a wealth of experience. If she get, there's one statement which she made, she said, and I say that this lady is going to become the Chief Justice. I don't know what I shared. I was sharing with Douglas. Now you can see the professor can predict. You were talking about Ngata, and I told you there was Martha Kome. She said, Miriam, the Chief Justice, the speakers of the National Assembly, the President, we are there to serve the people of Kenya, not on beauty contest. That who is doing the best. So on that statement, Miriam, that is a sign of humility. That is going to that office. And I had her say that she will pick her phone and speak with the President. She will find the opportunity to meet the President. When she will be meeting the President, they will be discussing about the justice system in this country. Miriam, this is huge. And we have been holding our Chief Justice before Miriam, that if he's seen with the President, he's being compromised. No. These arms of government, Miriam, all of them are independent, but interdependent. The judiciary, the executive has to correct taxes, has to give you security, and you have also to do this one from your end. So, Miriam, I hope as a mom, I have no doubt, Miriam, that this is good, something good which has happened to Kenya. And in fact, Miriam, time has come now to be ripe to have a woman to be a president of this country.
Okay, thank you so much. And this was not the first time for her to try for this slot. I remember the other time that our former CJ, David Kinani Maraga, emerged the winner. Justice Kome also had tried to apply for this job during that time. So while the legal professional of 33 years is accustomed to making stride in a patriarchal society where gender beats down brilliance, Justice Kome's nomination has thrust her into a league of her own. So let me just read a bit of a bio here, because Professor there has insisted, her merit is what got her to where she is. And indeed, when you look at what she's been able to do, spanning over 33 years in her legal profession, indeed, that matches the qualifications that perhaps the country was looking for their next Chief Justice. And gender notwithstanding, And she joined the International Federation of Women Lawyers in Kenya, FIDA, shortly after being listed as an advocate. That was the period activist institutions bore the brunt of brutal regime of our former president, God rest his soul, Moi. And at FIDA, it became apparent that the lawyer was as tough as nails, often standing up against oppressors who many at time were government bureaucrats. After being elected FIDA chairperson, the lawyer took on the government when it tormented critics like Raila Odinga, George Mosote Anyona, and Kenneth Matiba. She took on the Mungiki sect when it threatened to circumcise women in central Kenya. Between 1994 and 1996, she was the first treasurer of the East African Law Society. A year before completing her East African Law Society term, she was appointed commissioner to the African Committee on the Rights and Welfare of Children. After 15 years of law practice and activism, the lawyer joined the judiciary after retirement of President Daniel Arap Moi. It was a time of hope. Her record informed the decision by President Mwai Kibaki to introduce Justice Koome to the judiciary in 2012. Justice Koome was elevated to the Court of Appeal. She had in the same year become the first several judges to agree to public vetting following requirements in the new constitution aimed at weeding out rogue and lazy judicial officers. That says a lot about her character as a person there, Javan Karanja. She said she did not have problem with lifestyle audit, the one our politicians have been running away from, I think.
Thank you very much, Miriam.
Yes.
Because this shows that it's a person who can deal with the issue of corruption quite well. Because Miriam, we know the fear that walks around when the word corruption is mentioned is the issue of lifestyle audit. And I used to, when President Uhuru Kenyatta came up with that proposal and kind of agenda, you saw the kind of back and push that came from various political divide, especially those who support the Deputy President, William Ruto. Therefore, if she accepted to go through that kind of audit, shows that this is a person who has put his life in the public eye so that we can criticize, so that we can see what she is doing, so that he can set a good example. Most people fear to go for this lifestyle audit because they have corrupted 1 or 2, 3 coins belonging to the people of Kenya. But these people who are willing to go for this kind of crucial process shows that these are people who are willing to set free what they have, the kind of money that they have, and how they have created their wealth. Therefore, this to me comes as a good move, especially in the fight against corruption, because Miriam, a person who have been standing for the dictatorial regime of President Moi, who have fought for the less privilege, I'm certain that this is a person who can deal with corruption head on, because we have seen Miriam, and this has been a lot of people have been saying this, that judiciary is a setback in the fight against corruption. Therefore, as the head of judiciary, I expect her to come and ensure that other judges goes through that kind of a lifestyle audit, especially the judges of Supreme Court, the courts of appeal, and the high courts, and so on, so that we know how our judges do their things, how they are doing with their business, so that we can be assured as Kenyans that we are dealing with judges who can guarantee us justice, who can guarantee the fight against corruption a success, and who can guarantee a justice to all. And finally, Miriam, there's the issue of the delaying of court cases. I hope she will come with the mechanisms and the digital ways and all other criteria that will ensure that he speeds up the hearing and the determination of our cases, so that we avoid having all these kind of case backlogs going for years, going for a century, without even a person looking to them. Therefore, I think I am more optimistic this morning that we are dealing with a person who has come out clearly as a defender of human rights. And I don't expect less from her, because we know from the past, our past makes us predict what the future is. And from the past of our Mother Koome, we can predict that the future is glorious and the future is meritocracy. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And I think we've been joined by Dr. Joseph Nyanchama from Nairobi. Dr. I don't know if you're there, if you can hear me. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam.
Okay, nice to have
and
you.
My fellow panelists.
All right, very well. Thank you so much. Now we're discussing our incoming Chief Justice, Martha Koome, who is very passionate about children's rights and has done a lot in developing laws to protect minors. And last year, the judge was named the United Nations Person of the Year for fighting for children's rights. Her heart is in the right place.
Thank you, Miriam, and my fellow panelists, and all the listeners and the viewers who are listening to Punch Africa TV. Miriam, allow me, first of all, to congratulate the nominee of Chief Justice, Martha Koome. I usually tell my friends that allow me to say once again, fiscal
Okay. We seem to be, doctor, we seem to be having a problem. We seem to be having a problem with your connection.
See the light. Going by the history you have just read, you are not getting.
Yeah, we seem to be having a problem with your, reception there. It's not very clear. So I don't know if you can perhaps change positions and just find a better way in which we can have a good reception. That will be nice. The quality is not very good there. So I'll come back to you in a few if you have done something about it. And you brought about some issues. Karanja has brought about some issues that perhaps should be looked at very quickly. Maybe some of the challenges you've seen from the previous seat holders and the problems you've seen in our judicial system as a whole. A couple of them. Samuel Tawish, she said she will be willing and very quickly go meet the president to discuss and see how there should be a working relationship, which I think is very, very important, so that these arms of government are able to work together for the benefit of the people of Kenya. What do you think is one of, or some of the, or just give me one, the most urgent thing when Justice Martha Koome settles down, she should start by looking at in the judicial system in Kenya?
Well, Miriam, sorry about that hitch a bit. Well, I think Miriam and the rest of the panelists, the work for now, of course, the potential Chief Justice, Martha Koome, is well cut out. It's cut out in the sense that, all these individuals who came, of course, to the panel, to the Judicial Service Commission as candidates for this position, did quite enumerate some of the things they wanted or they intend to bring in the form of bringing a new dawn and change in the judiciary. And so Martha Koome being very open, being frank, being very keen on what exactly she wanted to do in the judiciary, I think now this is the opportunity. That's why when you asked the question initially as to whether I was particularly surprised on her nomination, I told you that I was not surprised because you could clearly see that this was one of the most suitable and qualified candidates for this position, and therefore I allowed even the Judicial Service Commission for finding it fit to nominate Martha Koome for that position. There's the question of corruption, Miriam, and I think this is what has been riddling the judiciary for over a long time. Corruption in the sense that we have cartels in the the justice system in this country, people who have been held captive by cartels, people who are compromised and induced by, of course, money to tilt the justice system or sometimes to give compromised verdicts. So I think with Martha Koome, looking at her background, she's a person of integrity, a person of competence, a person of humility, a person who has come out as a person of, I would say, of considerable temperament. So it tells you that this is a person who cannot easily be manipulated, a person who cannot be used in favor of any other particular case by virtue of her position. And therefore, when she says that she's not going to work as a lone ranger, she's going to rely on other members of the Supreme Court. Of course, the Supreme Court today, as we all know, is made up of 7 judges. And she's not going to work as a lone ranger in making decisions. She's not going to, she has to work with all other arms of government, that is including the parliament and the executive, the president. There's this question of, for example, funding that, of course, the immediate former Chief Justice, Dr. David Maraga, used to lament about, that probably the executive has cut the budget for the judiciary, and that makes it difficult maybe for them to operate or run the affairs of the judiciary in this country, or to provide justice for Kenyans. And Martha Koome was asked about this question and what will be her intervention in as far as trying to see how they can source funds for the judiciary. I think she outlined two major things, so many, but I want just to revisit two. One is about the relationship between the judicial being the arm of government, the judiciary being the arm of government, and the executive, that she will reach out to the president. She will have to call the president and maybe have a sit down and talk about some of the challenges that bedevil the judiciary, or some of the interventions they will want from the executive. And so is the case with parliament, for instance. Another thing was about trying to source donor funding for some of the activities for the judiciary. And I think these are initiatives that are very clear. A person who is of clear mind, who really knows what she's going to do in this judiciary. So we are not really shocked, and we are actually encouraged that Martha Koome has exemplified herself as a person who is really determined to steer the judiciary to the next level. And this question of corruption, Miriam, the question of competence, the question of backlog of cases, I think it has been mentioned by other panelists who have spoken ahead of me. These are things that we really want to see Martha Koome have a new approach towards this matter, because again, it continually erodes the confidence and trust that Kenyans have in the judiciary. Willie Mitunga, the first Chief Justice under the new constitution, did come out and laid a foundation. We hope that Martha Koome will be able to take on that foundation, will be able to build on that foundation, so that we can have a completely redeemed and rejuvenized kind of judiciary, that every Kenyan, every politician, every player that relies on the judiciary for services will be happy to go to and seek justice. Miriam, I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. Daniel Wesonga, what do you think awaits Martha Koome as soon as she settles down in the office? Most urgent thing she needs to deal with.
Yes, Miriam, top among her priorities should be amending the deteriorated relationship between the judiciary and the executive, which I believe was engineered by her predecessor, Kenani Maraga. And another thing, Miriam, is the issue Tarish and Javan have talked about, the issue of corruption in the judiciary. If you are able to dismember and dislodge corruption from the judiciary, then we will be able to redeem and be able to improve the kind of perception that Kenyans have been having towards the corridors of justice. You find that when you go to the local courts, you realize that so many Kenyans are actually grieving over cases that have dragged over years, and allegations of corruption, allegations of most files missing in court cases, and this has always led to miscarriage of justice and the deterioration in the confidence that Kenyans have had in the judiciary. So if she's able to address the question of corruption in cases, I think that will be a milestone. And another thing is to ensure that we have transparency and we have a judiciary which is actually in touch with whatever Kenyans are hoping to get from it. Remember, the courts are there to serve the people of Kenya and not the other way around. So if we make Kenyans part and parcel of the judiciary, I believe it will be quite well for the judiciary, because it will ensure that we have efficient and quite transparent administration of justice. And also, Javan talked about the issue of lifestyle audit. I think those who are seen as those who decide on matters justice and all that should have clean hands, and that is why we need her to fumigate the current judiciary. We should get her to expunge judges and magistrates and other judicial officers who have been implicated in corruption cases. Those whose conduct has not been weighing up, they should all be expunged from the judiciary, so that we foment a very clean, transparent, and a judiciary which smells of integrity. So that is one thing that she should look at. Of course, we are going to have some people who will be fighting back through the civil society and all that. We have already seen Makau Mutua talking about going to court to stop her bid to become the next Chief Justice. That was much expected. So in as much as we anticipate that she's going to carry some very rigorous reforms in the judiciary, we also expect that the hands of evil are going to cripple into the judiciary and try to maybe derail her duties. So Miriam, I expect that she's going to do her best to redeem the image of the judiciary, all in all.
Okay, thank you so much. We had troubles earlier with Dr. Joseph Nyanchama's connection. I don't know, Doc, if you're back and if you can able to conclude your thought that you were putting forth earlier. before the interruption.
Thank you, Miriam. You can hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
What I was saying, I wish also to take this early opportunity to congratulate Martha Koome, the Chief Justice nominee. In fact, I usually say that physical eyes see present darkness, but the eyes with faith see the light. If you look at the history and the journey of the nominee Chief Justice, obviously it was from a beginning which is rarely walked by men who have risen, men and women who have risen to high office. And I wish to comment on what Professor Nyari said, that we shouldn't focus too much on women here. I wish to tell Professor, we cannot separate that the Chief Justice nominee is a woman. I have deliberately used this word. For me, as a Christian, I see a hand of God. You know, if you read the book of Genesis, when God created man, he said it's not good for a man to be alone. I must give him my helper. And I want to ask my fellow panelists this question: a helper to be helped. Maybe you will give the answer at the appropriate moment. I want to say there is something unique in women. They are never the same as men, although people say all people are equal. In fact, if you give a woman grocery, she will convert it to food. You eat and you start to grow. In fact, you give a woman one word, she will give you back a sentence. And if you give her frustration, she will give you hell or not. What am I talking about? There is the inherent multiplication in women. And I can see in the Chief Justice as a woman, she's going to multiply benefits that will accrue to the whole state. And there is something people are not seeing in Martha Koome, a hidden humility. In fact, there is a man called H.M. Friedman said, men of power are feared. Men of wealth are envied. Men of genius are admired. It is only men of character and integrity who are respected. And all those people who are continually story narrated by Professor Nyari here. Miriam, allow me, I hope Kenyans are listening. Too often, in fact, people think that will is how bad we want something. No, it is not how bad Martha Koome wanted to be a Chief Justice. In actuality, the will in a person has a lot more to do with surrender than with strength. Or what you see in other people is merely a will which is raw, disguised as humility and resilience. For me, I see in Martha Koome a will to serve. Particularly, I was inspired almost to tears when she said, when I am seeking this office to be the head of arm of government, I am not entering as a beauty contestant in the beauty context. We want to serve the nation. What was she saying? If you want to serve a nation, you cannot shake a hand of a person with a clenched fist, which unfortunately the former Chief Justice was applying. Humility lies
Okay, we seem to have had a problem there by Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, a bit of a hitch, but when he's able to join us again, he will come. So right now, I'd like to take us to Dr. David Matanga. I'm sure he's... Doctor, very good morning to you.
Before Doctor comes in, Miriam, let me just have this to say.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I wanted to come out, Miriam. I don't want Kenyans to perceive just Kome as a woman, because when Suluhu became the president for Uganda, for Tanzania, Miriam, you saw her reminding them, I'm a president of Tanzania, but mwanamke kwa maumbile. This is what I want, and I've given you, in fact, the entire judiciary. I have got figure. It is being headed by women. She merits for that office. Well, I don't want men to, and other Kenya to start thinking she has gotten that job because it's a woman. No, it is because of unfairness. We have not treated women fairly. What women in this country are demanding, and elsewhere in the world, Miriam, is equal opportunities. When you go to class, I mark your script by your registration number. I don't know who it belongs to, and you score very highly. So this particular society, Miriam, we have to change it. And I'm happy for the first time. You heard me saying the time has come. It's right for a woman to be a president in this country. As a society which mistreats gender in a different way, Miriam, we don't prosper. We want to be treated equally. We want to be given equal opportunities, Miriam. I have no doubt, Miriam, I have worked with Matakome in the civil society. She has got solid experience. The likes of Macau, a man who is so much confused, who talks about Africa when he's living in America. He talks ill of the West and he's living there, Miriam. And you know what? You think George Soros is going to be happy to the person whom you cannot manipulate? The fact she said that she's going to bring relationship between the arms of the government, Miriam, that's huge. That's huge. That's what we have been. That's what Dr. Masanga has been saying here, Miriam. And I'm sure, Miriam, if you are corrupt, the Kimorel and Aradam, Miriam, and others, be assured. I know they will fight back. They will try to frustrate her back, but I know she has got a now foundation to take the corrupt people head on.
Okay.
Dr. Masanga.
All right. Thank you so much. Dr. David Matanga has joined us also.
Thank you very much. I'm joining from the Political Command Center of Bantu in Africa. Broadcasting unit. Thank you very much, viewers. Miriam, it is a very great day for me. A great day for the people of Kenya. A great day for the relief, the sigh of relief from the old tradition to the new tradition, to the old generation to the new focus of a vision, the vision of Africa, the vision for women, the vision for men of integrity. We are not interested in the character of any person being a bad character. We are interested in the good character, good conduct that can deliver us through the enclaves of insanity. It is very, very important that when choosing a chief justice, you choose integrity, you choose character, you choose. We could not mind if it was a man with character, a man with discipline, a man with conduct, a man with vision, a man who has the ability, the capability to negotiate, to speed, resolve conflicts. That's what we want. That's what the people want. That's what they want for a nation. Martha Koome is an intelligent lady. And the Kenyan people must be happy for her choice. Her choice stands the test of time of how resilient and resilience and resourcefulness can deliver you even when you did not go to school, even when you did not score first-class degrees, even when you did not have a document. But when you have resourcefulness that Dr. Joseph Nachama always talks about and tells us that we should have that type of resourcefulness. There are people who have climbed the ladder, delivered so well, done so well. After all, the disciples of Jesus Christ, show me who had a degree. Onyari, when Paul was, those who were fishermen, you go and get a degree in fishing. You're a champion of the church, all of you. You know it, you are church goers. I agree with both the prof and the doc. Because professor is simply saying Kenyans should not tell this lady you are a woman. That's what Makao Mutua has done. Another confused witness procurer, a surrogate of George Soros, a Nico Pomp, who always goes up, who cannot himself pass the examination, the interviews of JSC. A man who brought witnesses, a man who coached people who came to arrest Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, Mugaura, and the rest. A man who confessed on national television that indeed he trained ICC witnesses. Why do you Kenyans go on listening to an empty team whom I don't want to use some words here, because I'm very bad. I am very bad at that angle. A man who has no credibility apart from the professorship that he picked from New York Times, who comes to attack every time Kenyatta does this. He said he was dead. He was going to commit suicide. Has Makao Mutua resurrected again? Maybe Mr. Oya, Professor Onyari, you prayed for him and he came back. Because sometime he told us he was committing suicide. Didn't you hear that, Douglas Karimi? How many of you saw Makao Mutua writing from Mali? What is the word he uses? There's a famous word he uses in English that from my something in the newspapers. You remember it and give me a hint. All the time, my sense, it tells me, who are you? Are you the only one who has sense? All of us also have sense. We also have sense that, come, Martha, come, I told you. The other guy taught us Montague. Yes, I said that one has taught the panel what separation of powers. 3. Ngatia was very good in separation of powers, but he was not very good on overall practice. And if you chose Ngatia, they will say he's Uhuru Kenyatta. So we have now chosen a woman who can go for corrupt. She doesn't care a damn. She'll lock you up. God, start bringing back that money. Kwenda. Mnaambianga watu nini nyenye? Go bring the money back, Miriam. Watu waanze kujipanga. Kamiti iko karibu hapa. Ruto, jipange. Ulisema uko na pesa, unajua bank guarantee za ile pesa za Italy. Where is it? Where's the bank guarantee? Tukue hapa every day tunabembelesha mtu ameiba pesa zenyu wenye ya Kenya. Pesa zenye zinaibwa ananunua na helicopter, anaambia nyinyi iko na bank guarantee. How deputy president, what deputy president? What? Does he feed you? He's feeding his children. You are walking on the street without money. He has bought helicopters out of general money. When he came in before the JSC, he said it's not 21 billion. It is 7 billion with a bank guarantee. Now the money in Italy is coming for us. It's coming for you Kenyans. He is coming, I swear. They are going to pay even more. And you call that a leader who wants to lead you tomorrow? You call that a leader and you sit here the whole 2 hours. We have, I don't know, no. This one is like a Farimaggio. Don't waste time on this. Kwame is a woman. Yes, but she has credibility. She's credible. She can lead. She can focus. She can bring the court. All what she needs to do is protect independence. Among the 3 arms of government, there is one that is overall. You can go left, you find it. You can go to the kitchen, you find it. You go to the toilet in your office, you find it. Tell me among the 3 where you find a portrait in every office.
Executive.
Where, Medium, is there a portrait in the toilet in your house of any other arm? But in your house sitting room, there's a portrait of your president in any office. But is there a portrait of a chief justice? Is there a portrait of the Speaker of National Assembly? No. Why? Motegui said the Free State Federation, separation of powers, judiciary, parliament, and executive. One is the overall flow, the engine, the oil, the power, the water, the accelerator, the petrol. You call it. If it doesn't give you petrol, you can't even move. If it doesn't pay you salary, if you don't pay. If it doesn't give you money, what will you do? You will not eat. If it doesn't budget for the road, you won't have a road. The chief justice will not drive on that road. So it is the overall power that you must keep. But she must safeguard the independence approach. What the judiciary in Kenya has not been having is the question of independence. That's it. You are the Chief Justice. You don't go on issuing side road announcements. The Ekisi way, I'm sorry for my Ekisi brothers on the panel, Professor and Dr. Nyachama, you'll excuse me. I'm not targeting you. But Kisi and Bagisu are almost the same behavior. When you touch a Mugisu, he will not wait until we reach home. Even if you are with the wife, they fight there in the market. And it is finished. Then they start carrying each other to go home. A Mugisu behaves the same, like a Meru. That man up there, you don't touch a Meru and slap him in the market. And he leaves you. No, I will also fight you in the market. We don't care whether the trousers break or what. No. Those are tribes in Kenya and East Africa that are pure. They don't care. Kisi, Bagisu, Bachiga, and the Meru.
And the Kuria.
The Mukamba will wait to get a knife and cut the wife. Huh? Masai will I know Tawish wants to say something. Yes.
Nothing much, Daktari. I just wanted to add on to your list the people you cannot joke with in this in this world. Masais are in that bracket.
Yes. So she needs to safeguard. This is a woman who is going to safeguard the integrity of the court, because people are not going to go there and tell her stories. Miriam, I submit, I agree, I fully support the decision of JSC. I fully support the decision, and we shall lobby the Macau Mutuas who want marks. Macau Mutua, Professor, if you could come back on the screen again. We all mark people, we mark students, and Dr. Joseph, they pass. You can have a student who falls sick towards the exam. What do you do to that student? You look back at her performance and see what she has been doing all over her semesters. Isn't it, Prof?
Yes.
And grade that student to go forward. The question was taken to Parliament, it was defeated in court. The court rejected that they will not use marks. Macau Mutua, the appeal was made. The JSC can publish the way it wants. So let him go ahead. The screening of Martha Koome will go on. We have a Chief Justice, a Kenyan, a woman in the Commonwealth. That is very good for the judiciary of Kenya. And you won't see any acrimony. Because ladies, as Joseph said, ladies, you don't talk to them in a bad way. But when you come back, she looks at you, she forgives you. We men don't forgive. That's why we get guns to kill each other. But the women forgive. Remember Emperor Nero and the story of the mother. Those who are talking in Kenya are like those Emperor Nero. They went to Emperor Nero and said, Christians are so good. They are doing some things which we had never seen. The medicine men that you collect and the witchcraft guys, what are they called? Those who make tricks, what are they called?
The magicians.
Magicians who come and say the horses can multiply. I think Wesonga, you have read the Emperor Nero. So the mother said, Emperor, bring these people to the church, to the palace. They brought them to the palace. When they came to the palace, guess what? The man was converted to Christianity. Christianity later on, what happened? They started making people change. Following was huge. The emperor was worried, called the mother and said, these people are taking away my people. The mother said, they are on the right channel, leave them, my son. The emperor killed the mother. Do we want to go to that situation again? Yes or no? Back to the studios.
All right. Thank you so much. There's something here I read earlier before we get into the question of Somalia on the Star newspaper. Is it a fight? Your connection, Dr. Joseph, is not very good, so I don't know what.
I wanted to say
I apologize. Your connection is not very good. So we're having a very poor. All right, production will take care of that. We are not able to get Joseph Dr. Joseph Nyanchamo very clearly. We're having a bit of a problem today with his connection, but once he's able to get a better positioning, we will have him back, and he will tell us, he will share his thoughts that he wants to share with us. Now, there
is something I wanted to say.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, the connection is not very good.
Doctor, go ahead.
All right, production will help me with that, hopefully. So let's just mute him. So there's a top of the Star newspaper. one of the topics they wanted us to look at. Is it a fight between Orengo and Raila? Why ODM is in turmoil? The story is on page 2 of the Star newspaper. And Doctor, this is something that we've been, especially you have been very, very consistent with it. There now seems to be a power struggle in ODM, especially when it comes to the BBI that we know right now is being discussed in the joint committee at the National Assembly, between the National Assembly and Senate. Today they're all in Parliament discussing this bill, and there seems to be a push and pull between Orengo and a few ODM members and Raila Odinga, and they're casting doubts even on this handshake. Doctor, you've been very consistent with that. Perhaps I'll get your opinion and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Miriam, I don't know whether you are hearing me.
Yes.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Hello?
You have come to the right man. And let me deliver my words very solemnly. Is that correct English, Tawish? Very solemnly.
Wait,
yes? Doctor, you want to say something?
We're having issues with the dog's connection today, so we're not...
My statement on Orengo and the divisions in ODM are the following points. 1, His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga, you have fought for democracy. You have stood for this country. You have stood, understood, suffered for this country. You took a step forward to reconcile and live this country, a united country. You took a step forward to help Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta achieve unity of purpose. Mzee, don't listen to Orengo. Orengo is a double-faced. Orengo's wife is an NGO, is the head of George Soros in East Africa and Africa. That's point number 1. So one body is telling Orengo, go that side, another body is telling Orengo, go this side. Orengo has tested His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga some time back, trying to contest him on this supremacy of the Luo battles. Don't bring us your Luo battles. People are looking for Kenyan battles. Orengo should hear that today. Yes, he has been having those battles with Raila. Orengo is like a Brutus, Cassius. They plotted in the Senate to assassinate Julius Caesar. And they are on it now again. Orengo knows that Article 257, 1 of the Constitution, Section 4 and Section 5, and 10 of the Constitution of Republic of Kenya, Miriam, is very clear, madam. I don't know whether you are hearing me. Miriam?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
It's a very clear article. Those articles are very clear in the sections. Once the bill comes to the chambers, even if you disagree, Article 10 of 257 says, let it go a popular bill to the people, they can reject it. You don't need to discuss it. And I'm telling you, it is going to pass. Today, it will pass. You have no right to take a comma. Now, what do you do? Wait until the president comes back with it. Okay? And says, I've signed. Then implementation, towards implementation, is when you start saying, no way. Let's change a section and say, how did you come to the conclusion of the constituencies? Miriam, have I been clear there? Miriam?
I can hear you, Doc.
But okay, fine. that is when you can talk about implementation, is where you break the bill in two. An omnibus bill cannot be broken to pieces when it has not been signed, when it is a people's initiative. If it is a parliamentary initiative, Miriam, you can begin to break it. So most of the MPs will vote for the bill. It will go as it is. As far as the infighting, I've told you the main reason. Raila has gone with Uhuru. Remember, Orengo told us, remember, Orengo is not the one who accompanied Raila to meet Uhuru. Orengo just received the second-hand information. Am I wrong, you people on the panel? Mm-hmm. He just received the second-hand information. Later on, Junet was the man in the meetings. Orengo was on the told letter. So there's that rivalry that have been your advisor for a long time legally. Why did you go into this? So this is brewing in the party. And the sanitary, the gubernatorial aspirants and the who takes over the Luya, the Luo community politics is growing up. Remember, Raila is growing old and afraid when he grows old, there must be another person to take a position. So people are jostling over position, pouring it up to the whole nation. Similarly, in Uhuru's camp, there are also those who are jostling for position, that when Uhuru leaves, I must also show something. Similarly, in Kalonzo's home, you saw Mudama, you saw so many things. This medium is what is the politics of Africa. So we expected that fight to be there. But more so at the moment, there's a group of George Soros that wants to dismember this country through this BBI. They want to tell other people that BBI is a very bad thing. Reject it, paralyze the country. We come in, we do Chad, we do Tanzania, we frustrate Tanzania, we change this, we frustrate Malawi, we change this. These guys are there. They are not happy that this thing is going on smoothly. Mm-hmm. I submit.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I think that is a conversation that perhaps we can have tomorrow, because, yes, this is something that we've been talking about, and we need to have a proper conversation and see what is really happening there in the ODM parties and the saboteuring we seem now to be coming, especially from the ODM side, even when it comes to the PBI. And also something else perhaps we should think about talking about soon. High Court rules elected leaders and other state officers cannot represent public officers charged with graft, cites conflict of interest in oversight role. As we have seen, I think a good example, DCJ now acting CJ Mwilu when she was being charged, and we saw the people who were representing her are the lawyers of the likes of Senior Counsel Orengo and the rest, and they still have to go back in Parliament discuss these matters. And we've been discussing the issue of conflict of interest. So now we see the High Court has ruled in that regard, and they're saying if you're serving as a public servant or an elected leader, you cannot go represent somebody that especially is answering to graft cases. So this is a very important conversation that we shall have for another time. All right, I think that's where we end our Kenyan topics this morning, and I'd like for us.
Miriam, before you end, Madam Miriam, before you end, you remember. We are the people who pointed that thing here on your program.
Yes, we keep talking about it, the conflict of interest. Yes,
you can't be a senator, and then you go and represent Mwilu, who has stolen money from a bank that was dealing with terrorists. And another thing I had forgotten, hallelujah, I have killed several animals with one stone. I have eliminated Mwilu. She's technically gone. God, thank you very much. Give me more strength to talk. Maraga went, Mwilu will go. She can now become an ordinary judge, and the beggars beg the DPP to withdraw charges. Laugh again a bit. This is now very good, Douglas. Let's play. They wanted it. We play. You can't defeat men who reason quietly. Yes, that's what they call strategy, Mr. Douglas. Have you seen how the strategy is going to work in court? Technically, Mwiru cannot be in court, cannot be a deputy chief justice. And technically now she has to say please. And technically now they have removed her lawyers, who were 57 public servants, who poured in court. Technically now, Madam, come and beg us. You call us names. Anyway.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That is where we end our Kenyan topics this morning. I want for us to get into our second topic of the day, and that is under Diaspora Dispatches, although I'll come back later with some other news across the continent of Africa. But for right now, let's focus our attention on Somalia. And we have been talking about this for the last, I don't know how many days, the situation in Somalia. And Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo has backed down from his attempt to extend his tenure for 2 years, a political move that has sparked clan-based fighting in Mogadishu between soldiers supporting and opposing him. In a broadcast address to the nation, he called for a new presidential election and commended the efforts of his prime minister, who hours earlier had denounced Mr. Farmajo's bid to cling to office after his term expired in February. Mr. Farmajo said he would appear in Parliament on Saturday to restore the 17th September 2020 deal on a proposed electoral framework which would reverse the 2-year extension of his term passed by legislators on the 12th of April. The 2020 agreement refers to a process under which clan elders select delegates to electoral colleges, which in turn choose federal lawmakers who then pick a president. So President Farmajo has made a roundabout. Prof, I'll start with you, Prof. Daniel Wasonga.
Yes, Miriam.
Go ahead.
What we need to do, and we have to agree with this, we have said, dear Miriam, that as a sign of good governance, Miriam, we should be able to have periodic elections, Miriam. You cannot reach me when you have consumed your whole love and then you say now you want an extension. And I want to thank Punchline Africa TV and Dr. Masanga that we have taken this war. We have spoken and we will continue saying, Miriam. And I'm very happy that Farmajo's time is up. He has done a lot of the service to Somalia, Miriam. He is not an active player, Miriam, in IGAD. You have seen the problem he's having with Kenya, Miriam, a country which has hosted the brothers of Somalia for many years. For the last 30 years, our soldiers are there, attending the people of Somalia, Miriam, whom he has failed to attend. The strongest terms possible, Miriam, that Farmajo should be removed. He should not even be allowed to contest. His time is up. Around the people of Somalia, whether it is through the way they do it, so that they can. Why is he having fear that they cannot elect him, Miriam, unless he has committed some things which is so he's fearing that he cannot make it for the second term, Miriam. So from where I sit, Miriam, I support the United Nations Security Council. I support the African Union. I support myself and Bunch African TV and Dr. Masanga that we should continue saying that no, there should be no extension, Miriam, even of an inch of the power of the president of Somalia.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Now, the presidential term extension has also angered foreign donors who backed Farmajo's government in an attempt to bring stability to a country that has been wrecked by civil war since 1991. Months of United Nations-backed talks failed to overcome the election impasse, and the dispute turned violent on Sunday as forces loyal to the president traded gunfire with fighters allied to his political rivals. Many soldiers in Somalia's armed forces owe their loyalties to clan militias, which have often battled each other for power and resources. And I don't know who really pushed him. I know we've been doing our job over here. But President Farmajo is out now. He's saying, you know what? Yes, we will go to an election. Samuel Tawish.
Miriam, to me, I don't think really President Farmajo's decision to accept that finally we are going to go into this election didn't come to me as a surprise, because there was no escape route for President Farmajo. He was to eventually bow to pressure, because again, when you look into the reasons that he was giving as to why we cannot have this election, it is evident, because what has happened suddenly, I mean, this resolution to extend his term for 2 years again was just made, I think, on 12th of this very month. We are about 3 or so weeks after that resolution. And President Farmajo says now, I accept, I agree that we can have this election. Of course, he's listened to the African Union, he's listened to the European Union, he's listened to IGAD calls, he's listened to the United Nations Security Council, that it was not tenable for him to continue staying in power at the expense of the peace and stability of Somalia. Because again, his continued to stay in power is what has resulted even to the recent anarchy that we are witnessing in most parts of Somalia. And this one cannot be tolerated just because we will want to nurse the ambition, to massage the ambition of one individual in the name of President Mohamed Farmajo. So it is a welcome move. I want to actually join Professor in suggesting that probably it is time Farmajo does not even offer himself to the ballot, because again, he's been part and parcel of the problems and the ills that have been bedeviling Somalia from the time he came into office. He cannot be trusted to be part of the solution moving forward, and therefore he should allow other people of goodwill, people who are determined, people who are willing to actually bring a new dawn to Somalia to take over in that coming election. Miriam, I submit.
And he addressed the nation at 1 a.m. This is serious, Javan Karanja.
Yeah, he did.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Miriam. And we are used to that kind of surprises from Mohamed Farmajo. Therefore, it was he feels maybe that was the right time to do his
when everybody's asleep.
When everybody is asleep, because to many Somalis maybe who had hope in Farmajo, it was a surprise to them, and maybe he wanted to do it when they are still asleep, so that in the morning they'll well be prepared to consume as they take their breakfast, to take the news. But to me, that is a very good gesture that finally Farmajo has accepted to allow the people of Somalia to have a free and a credible elections. Whether it will be free or fair, that is to them to test that. But for him allowing the country to go for an election, to me, is a very good move, because he was trying to take the country into a very bad predicament where the country could have breaked into more drastic chaos and civil arrest. Therefore, as he has accepted the will and the pressure from the United Nations and the IGAD and Africa Union and other people across the continent who are pushing who are calling him out for the extension of his term in office, I think that is a very good move, because finally he's giving the residents and the citizenry in Somalia a chance to vote a leader of their choice without him extending his term. Because we know when he in the lanes of power, his government has been characterized with a lot of human rights violation, corruption, and so on. Therefore, this is a man who has been a setback, a roadblock when it comes to development and political stability in the country of Somalia. Also, he has been there as a setback when it comes to the fight against the terrorism and the Al-Shabaab. Therefore, I see it as a very good move, and the people of Somalia now, they can proudly go for this election and make a wiser decision. Now, to them, it's to them to make a wiser decision, to know where they want to take their country for the next term. Thank you.
Okay. Daniel Wesonga, before I bring in Doc to conclude for us.
Yes, thank you, Miriam. And I'll go straight to the point and say that Farmajo's stay in power is a testimony that someone else was patriotic enough to allow elections to occur in Somalia, so that we have another leadership under Mohamed Farmajo. So therefore, whatever good he could have done to the people of Somalia is to allow them to conduct a free, credible, and fair elections to determine their next leader, not to try and overstay in power. And I think this was done out of just being cheeky and being testing the waters, so to say, to see if he could still go on and sustain his leadership and his cronies onto clinging into power. But as it is, he has polarized the country. And right now, we have factions in Somalia who are fighting against one another. We have those who are pro-Farmajo and those ones who are opposing his stay in power. So this tells you, Miriam, that he's a man who actually has backtracked on the progress that has been made by his predecessors and those nations like Kenya and other neighboring countries who have been fighting tooth and nail to ensure that stability and peace is restored back in Somalia. And also, it shall not be forgotten, Miriam, that for the very first time, we had a president in Villa, Somalia, who actually went in bed with Al-Shabaab. We have had very numerous reports from very credible intelligence networks that he has been sharing intelligence information with Al-Shabaab. He has, for the record, incorporated Al-Shabaab ex-militia men into his government as in the security forces in his cabinet. So this is a man who has been always doing the wrong things. He has actually been an aggressor with Kenya, a country which has been on the forefront in ensuring that we support Somalia in its path to progress and unity. So I think Farmajo has destroyed Somalia more than he has helped it to bring it back on its feet. And it will only be noble, Miriam, that he allows for elections to happen in Somalia and let them determine who becomes their next president. And as it is, Miriam, the other day we had demonstration, we had actually a fight in the capital. That tells you that he's very unpopular and he's likely to be thrown out of power. But before that happens, if he's a leader of high intuition, high integrity, and actually there are some shreds of patriotism into him, he should step aside and not present himself to the ballot to be elected, as my brother Tarish says. It will actually give him something actually to take home other than the bad reputation that he has gathered for himself over the years. I submit.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Doctor? Dr. David Matanga?
The doc seems to have left the conversation.
Okay, so that is where I guess we end our conversation. And of course, this developing story there in Somalia. Maybe let me just recap.
We have Douglas.
Yes, I think Doc is trying to join. He will be with us and then he will conclude for us. And so Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed called early Wednesday for elections and a return to dialogue after the extension of his mandate by 2 years sparked the country's worst political violence in years. President Farmajo addressed the nation at around 1 a.m. local time after hours of anticipation, with Mogadishu on a knife's edge as government troops and pro-opposition soldiers beefed up their positions and civilians fled their homes. The president said he would appear before Parliament on Saturday to gain their endorsement for the electoral process, calling on political actors to hold discussions on how to conduct the vote. So as I said, the doctor is trying to join us. So once he's able to join us, he will... Yes, he will conclude for us the show. So the United Nations Assistant Mission in Somalia on Tuesday, alongside international partners, condemned the violence that has rocked Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, amid the political crisis in the country. So, all right. So finally, I think Dr. Ari, this move by President Farmajo, of course, that came out of a lot of pressure, is what is good for the country. Doctor, can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yes, Miriam.
We have concluded, so we were just waiting for you to look at the Somali matter. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you had already finished?
Yes.
My lights went off.
Pole.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm in a mobile unit, so...
All right.
Somehow.
Yes. Farmajo calling for an early election.
The situation. Yes.
I'm saying that is a good move for the country. It's for the best interest.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
It is for the best interest of Somalia, but it has come under heavy price. It has come under an isolation. You remember this week I wrote a letter, a post, and I said, let's help Somalia. Let's not get out. Let's pressurize the leadership of Mohamed Farmajo to come back and listen to other people, community of nations. Everywhere he went, we blocked him. We blocked every route. And he's back on table now. He knows, and I'm told he might actually resign because this time he might not win the vote. People are now already upset. So it is a success. Silent diplomacy, shouting diplomacy, calling him names also has made him know that people are not happy. He wants to create a war in the region. Nobody is interested in. Somalia is importing very sophisticated weapons. What are these weapons for? Who is giving Somalia the weapons? Is there a preparation for a war? There seems to be a preparation for a war. I've written a letter to that effect. I've delivered it to the point that if ICJ makes a ruling in September, either against Kenya or against Somalia, there will be a war in the Indian Ocean. The regional peace will be affected. National peace will be affected. And there's a threat to international peace. Therefore, we go under Article Chapter 7, Article 39, Article 40 of the United Nations General Assembly Security Council mandates that should there be a threat to peace, and that peace brings in insecurity to the region, the broken peace can cause insecurity to the or to the any place. So, under that chapter, stop not to follow it up. I wrote under set of Kenya, as I beg, for them to follow up these smaller things so that we are not reactive, but we are proactive. And I submit that, yes, there is a goodwill for Somalia to make it good to come out of this conflict. But as long as Farmajo is in power, we shall have more and more problems. Farmajo, if I were him, I would look for an exit strategy and get out of this. The second point I want to make as I submit, Kenya should start looking for these countries that are supporting the leadership of Somalia. The countries include these countries include Turkey, Qatar, Norway, France. The Kenyan government and Minister of Foreign Affairs must, through this broadcast that I'm making, must make sure that these countries are addressed and brought on table and asked, why do they support a war in the region? That's it. We cannot treat them on our tea, on our figure, on our chai, kila kitu kwa Kenya, then they go and give Somalia money to kill us. It's impossible. Miriam and the panel, I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. And that is where we end our show this afternoon. Thank you so much, Douglas. Douglas did not join us today, but Samuel Tawish from Nairobi, Javan Karanja from Nanyuki, Daniel Wasonga from Nairobi, Professor Jared Onyari from the capital city here, and Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, who had a bit of trouble with his reception, so he was not able to really give us his very good contribution today, but I'm sure he will be back with us tomorrow, God willing. And of course, Dr. David Matanga. This has been an extended version of Good Morning Africa. I know it's 38 minutes past 12, but we started at 11, and so we shall continue with some of those items, especially on Kenya, that we're not able to look at today, perhaps tomorrow, for the topic around them, because they're very important national conversations. So thank you so much for watching. I'll be back here later with the latest from across the continent. I am Miriam Ogutu. Bye-bye for now.